When you find the business opportunities to impact the world, when you make the decision to change, it's on. Hey everyone, you are listening to It's On Podcast. We are Anthem Republic, a digital agency located in Nashville, Tennessee. I am Calvin Noel. I am the VP of Creative Services, and I'm here in the studio today with my coworkers.
Hello, I'm Brad Ayers, founder and CMO of Anthem Republic.
And I'm Austin Frederick, Director of Digital and Social Strategy.
Yes, and this is an episode that you're going to hear a lot of wisdom from that guy right there. Because today's episode is about social media trends for 2019. Mm-hmm. It's time now to start thinking about what we need to do next year. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My mom finally got on Facebook.
Okay.
Did she really?
Come on, Mom. Is she your friend?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
She's in her 70s. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Does she post?
I've been waiting. She does. She actually does post, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You know,
that reminds me. My grandfather actually, he got a Twitter, and he has one tweet, and I think I screenshotted it just because it was that good. And I think it was just like, retirement is great, and that's it. And it was like 10 years ago.
Does he have any followers? Is all his friends following
I think
him?
it might just be me. There might be one or two others.
That's hilarious.
No, it's funny because I think social media is so. I think it's not optional. I think in 2018 and moving forward, you just have to have it. And if you are not utilizing it, then I don't think you can be in business without it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of things changing, as they always are. It's it's tough to even give a 2019 report when it's changed from last month, even compared to now. So it's important to stay on top of it, and that's a part of my job, which is ever so much fun.
Well, what do you think? Well, let's just, before we talk about what we need
sure.
to think of, what do you think about social media, just where it's been in the last, 10 years and just where it is right now?
Well, it starts so central to building a community of people that really care about each other and have like a specific mission. You see that with Facebook. You see that with Twitter. It just starts with a small group and then grows really fast.
Yeah. It's funny because if you watch social media, I came up my career in the advertising marketing, and most of the time was spent on building brands. But now with social media in the last 10 years, every person is their own brand. And everyone positions themselves on social media the way they want to be known for.
Right.
And, I think social media is challenging, but I think it's changing. And I think the challenge is that for a person posting about themselves on social media, what is the real true self of a person? Are they just presenting things that they want the public to see about them, or are they really seeing behind the veil of who they really are?
Well, and I think that observation is interesting too, because you can see people kind of become more protected versions of themselves. We create new social networks to be ourselves on. You can see that we had Facebook, and then once you started to be more protective on Facebook, there was Instagram, and then as people started to craft gorgeous Instagram photos, then there was Snapchat, and now you're just throwing up quick videos of everything. And I think that's what the constant evolution is, just people trying to find a way to be more authentic to their friends and to the people around them, while also creating who they want to be.
Yeah. Social media really gives you that opportunity to reach people because everybody is on it. Yeah. And that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about the trends. I don't know about you, but those that are listening, I'm a kind of guy that likes to use my seasons of the fall to prepare for the next year. And this episode is designed to be able to just give you a more in-depth conversation about the trends. And so with that, Austin, what do you think going into 2019, what do you think is some things we need to look out for as it relates to social media?
It's really going to be about community building. We've seen it really successful in the past, and Facebook's only more reinforcing groups on Facebook. Instagram is starting to create something more along those lines, trying to create both messaging opportunities, video messaging opportunities, to really create these insular communities in something that's really global. So I think that's going to continue to grow. Now, that's not a perfect fit for every company, naturally, but there's a lot of opportunities to create an audience of your core people and then have conversations with them in an even smaller group than just your large, broad
Yeah.
social networks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So community building, that's going to continue to go that way. Is that what you're
Absolutely.
saying?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go off about algorithms, but it's really tough these days.
What's an algorithm?
So algorithm is how
Yes. Explain, please.
algorithm is how Facebook and Instagram and Twitter automatically customize each of your individual news feeds based on what they think you want to know best. So, for example, I, Austin, am a huge fan of the satirical news source, The Onion. So I like all of their crazy articles. And so I end up seeing a lot of The Onion posts in my newsfeed because Facebook has identified that I care about that. And whereas I don't see, for example, 10 years ago when I created my Facebook, I liked some bands, but I don't see any posts from those bands anymore because
Right.
I haven't shown an interest in them for years. And so that's the algorithm at work showing me what Facebook thinks I want to see and taking out things that I don't want to see and I don't care about. And so as these networks produce algorithms that are more and more efficient, the thing is that people, you, me, Calvin, we don't want to see posts from a lot of companies. I don't necessarily want to see the latest thing from Cheetos, even though I enjoy Cheetos every now and again.
Yeah.
Sadly. And so Facebook says, well, we got to take that out of the feed because they're selling my attention to advertisers, to businesses. And so they're going to take that out of the feed. And so what a lot of companies are experiencing is that even though you might have an audience of 10 million people, only 100,000 people are seeing it every time you post organically.
Right.
So it's about building communities, is about creating a conversation around something else and getting even a smaller wedge of your audience. So,
Yeah.
I like algorithms because I think it does a better job than I would do myself of showing me the stuff that's interesting to me. So I'm a big fan of technology and AI, and that technology is changing, and so I'm okay with it.
Well, they know, for me, they know that I'm dieting. And here
They
comes
do?
all the keto ads.
Oh, really?
Exactly right.
Oh, man, I
You
get
put it in like 2 or
flooded
3 of your posts
Really?
and you're
with
done for.
keto.
I know.
Oh, make this. When make this kind of cauliflower pizza. I mean, they know that I'm searching for
Those stupid Instagram ads, they get me every time.
every time.
I'm
You know
telling
what's crazy about that stuff is that, and I don't know, I can talk to you about something right now. And when I get in the car or I get at home, there's a ad on my feed. And do they, just for those listening, because the people ask me this all the time, are they recording your voice?
They've firmly denied that that's something that happens, although it is eerily
That's pretty
similar.
crazy.
But I can tell you that I personally don't have access to the microphone, so I can't target based on that. So that's a bummer. Google, Facebook, I know you're listening. Just let me know when that becomes available because I want to do that. But no. But no, as far as I know, they have firmly denied
I've
that
heard
they do
multiple
that.
stories of people swear that they've said certain words, and within minutes they look on their phone
that's happened
and they
all
see
day.
an ad specifically to what they were just talking about.
Oh, that happens to me all the time. I think there was a time, and I won't say the name, but we were meeting with a client, and I was just talking to our client about their competition, and lo and behold, I mean, that evening, their competition was in my Insta stories and in my Instagram, and I didn't research them.
So it wasn't retargeted.
I didn't know. I didn't. And it was just, I don't know what that is, but I was like, that was pretty scary, you know? So what are some other things that,
Well, in
that are
addition
trending?
to community building, there's also a huge opportunity for long form video. We see that in the production of Instagram TV recently. Facebook Watch was also earlier this year. Everybody's trying to compete with YouTube because YouTube has a ton of eyeballs on it. It's actually the #1 social media because younger audiences are absorbing on there, and everybody else is quickly catching up. And so there's a huge opportunity to create long form video. The trick is that that isn't an advertisement for your thing. It has to be something that people are actually willing to engage with for a long period of time. And so that's really the trick. And, it's not easy. It's, not even as a professional to create, really great branded content. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. Well, years ago, I used to create something, a video, put it on YouTube, go to Facebook, share the link of YouTube, and it would get no engagement. And then years ago, I started to hear about, their interest in video, and I just started to upload the video directly to Facebook. And man, I got so much engagement.
Absolutely.
It's almost like they filter it so that
they
the Instagram links or the other links they don't get viewed.
They do. That one I can confirm. If you're posting a video to Facebook, you want to use Facebook's platform to post it and host it. If you're posting directly to Instagram, you want to use Instagram's platform to host it and post it. That's a fun thing that I just coined. Can we get shirts?
There you go. Host it and post it.
Host it and post it. At any rate, so you always want to do that organically in each of the platforms, because just posting a link, they karate chop that. That's one thing that is has always been a thing for all social networks is if they release something new, if they released Facebook Watch, or if they're like, oh, all of a sudden you can do Instagram stories, they're going to reward you for using those new technologies in the algorithm, as we talked about earlier. So any opportunity that you have to really take advantage of Instagram TV while it's coming out right now, or Facebook Watch as it's only been out for a couple months, or 360 video as they launch those sorts of things. If you have an opportunity to take advantage of those things, you should take it, because it will get better results than anything else you do.
Now, when you say long form video, are you just referring to that it's longer than how Vine videos were 6 seconds or Instagram stories? Or you just mean it could be documentaries or?
Well, what YouTube has gone to is anything longer than 10 minutes. And so when Facebook and Instagram are actively trying to compete with YouTube, that's kind of the time frame that they're looking to compete with. Of course, anything longer than 3 minutes is probably considered longish form, but I'm aiming for 10 minutes or longer. If you're actually taking the time to create long form video content specifically for social media, aim for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes.
Got it.
That's my goal.
Hey, we've talked a lot about Instagram and Facebook, and we know that Snapchat had kind of a rough year this year. Instagram kind of took over some of their technology, and blew it up and made it better. Where do you see Snapchat in the next coming year?
Well, I'd be interested to hear if you agree with me on this, but I've always been a skeptic of Snapchat, not because I don't appreciate the platform. I think it's a lot of fun, but because they kind of started in a weird niche. They started in a weird thing where you only want to talk to the 2 or 3 or 10 friends that you have on there, and there's not a constant stream of information coming through there like Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. And so it's always been something that you kind of just pop in for a second, you check it, you pop back out. And when they introduced stories, they were kind of trying to incentivize this more always existing content so that you spent more time on the platform. And then Instagram is a better platform for stories like that. And so when Instagram stole it, it was way more successful on there than it ever was on Snapchat, because Instagram was kind of built around that always having content, whereas Snapchat wasn't.
Calvin, you have quite a few followers on Instagram, and you travel a lot and you post a lot. How much of your postings are Instagram stories now versus just regular post?
I do both. I think sometimes, they may not see my feed because of the way Instagram's algorithms are. And so I will post it on both. But I have noticed, I was telling someone this the other day, I was like, man, I've really noticed a strong engagement the more I post. Where there was a couple years ago where I was just busy and just didn't have the time, and I was kind of mad that I don't want to keep up with everybody. I just want to do my own thing. And then you find yourself that doesn't work. And you find yourself on the back end. And I've just been really intentional about posting a lot more. And man, it just gets the videos. I just get the likes and new followers, and just probably because I'm giving a lot of content.
What type of content do you feel gets the most engagement? The type of...
I think videos get a lot of engagement right now. I mean, at least views on my page. You know, I think the photos are great, and you get the likes and everything like that. But like, if your page isn't like a niche page, you know, I'm kind of like all things Calvin. But I get more about video because I'm kind of letting people know what it's like from my world, and so for me, I prefer video, but I just think that that's the wave of future.
Absolutely. Know? I think there's huge opportunities for video. The trick is that from a brand perspective, you're trying to create something that represents your brand well. So identifying what kind of quality level still represents your brand at a level that everybody can be happy with, from you, the director of social media, to your CMO, to your CEO, something that they'd be proud of. That's what kind of gets tricky because, you know, the production values can skyrocket. But if it's at a level, because something that I really love about your social is that it's so personal and so it's just you. And that's what makes it really awesome. And that's what makes social media really awesome. So the more that you can kind of push people on being more organic and human, the better.
Now, the other thing is that, like, that's Facebook and Instagram, but like we didn't even talk about LinkedIn, you know, which is a huge opportunity right now. I mean, it's been that way, but it seemed like it's getting greater and greater. And even when I had researched, you know, a few months ago about LinkedIn, they were just saying that there's not as many video influencers on LinkedIn. So it's a great opportunity for people to use video on LinkedIn. Would you agree?
LinkedIn is a huge opportunity, primarily because currently, as of speaking, they're not using an algorithm. And so everything that gets posted gets put in your newsfeed. So there's a huge opportunity and huge market for both B2B and identifying new both clients and potential employees on there, because everybody who follows you sees everything. I've seen huge results. I'll post something on Facebook and I'll get more likes on LinkedIn, which is freaky. Because I can tell you, I don't spend as much time on LinkedIn. But there's huge opportunity there. There's a huge culture of, you know, what we were saying with community building earlier, huge culture of writing your own articles and having people read and give feedback and comment. There's a lot of opportunity there, especially if that's a good fit for your brand.
I feel like Gary Vee owns LinkedIn somehow. Somebody please tell me, because he's in everything. I mean, literally everything on my LinkedIn feed, and I'm just wondering, like, and maybe I'm saying all that to say that maybe there's just an opportunity because people don't post on LinkedIn.
Well, he's taking advantage of it.
Well, I think it's such a business platform that, you know, business people are busy, and so the one who has the best content and the most thoughtful content wins. And I think that's an opportunity right now that all business leaders should think about. Companies alike.
That's why I was going to say we're talking about video, and I was on the plane the other day, actually in the Admiral's Lounge. Like, a friend of mine, I don't have status in the Admiral's Lounge. No, it was on. He said, "Hey, Calvin, you got an hour to wait for your plane." He's like, "Why don't you come up to the Admiral's Lounge?" And I said,
that sounds good.
So I go to the Admiral's Lounge, and we just start talking about video. He's a TV producer. And, man, he was just telling me, I asked him about brands and videos, and he just said, yeah, man, like Pepsi is creating television shows, not about Pepsi, but it's a scripted type of show, but they're strategically putting in the Pepsi within the videos. And it just showed you the bigger picture of how big corporate brands are creating content that we're just watching as a drama. But it was all about setting up, you know, the product.
I've been noticing that a lot in specifically Netflix productions recently, and I don't think they'd appreciate this comment, but it's really ham-fisted. My wife and I were watching a romantic comedy the other day, and it was fun, a lot of fun. And then they're like, "Hey, want to go get Subway?" And like waited a whole 3 seconds. So there's definitely opportunities. I mean, it got an impression on me. I don't see, the thing is that I've been reading a lot recently about how really the commercial break is going away. A lot of my generation and younger are cutting cables, cutting cords. And so agencies and marketing departments are trying to find opportunities that aren't as easy as just placing an ad run on television. And people are trying things, including placements on Netflix shows. And I can't say that one worked on me. It's a little ham-fisted, but there's lots of opportunities out there for both product placement and really influencer marketing as well. I mean, people have only been talking about that forever the past 2 years, influencer marketing, but it's a huge opportunity because the commercial break's going away.
Well, you can't talk about social media without at least asking about Twitter. Well, will you please let us know? Because inquiring minds want to know. I heard I heard it was dying. Then I heard nope. Young people are like, no, it's back and it's on.
Well, so my personal opinion is that, Twitter has done a really good job of staying true to its core of what it started to do, which is something that we even talked about with Snapchat earlier, is that Snapchat's trying to branch out and be like, oh, we're now about eternal content. You can always stay on here. But it was started as just kind of a private communication between friends. And so that's why I believe Snapchat's kind of losing a lot of momentum, where Twitter has stayed true to its core, which is small little bits of information in real time. And it has stayed consistent, and that's why it's been around for so long, even though it hasn't always been number one. So I think that if you are able to, if your brand is a really good fit for constant information, community management is huge on Twitter, especially with big brands. They've got entire, Lyft is based out of here in Nashville, and they have entire divisions just to respond to inquiries on Twitter and social media. And so, because of Twitter's nature to be that live response, instantaneous, and staying on top of what's relevant, it's just kind of been this underdog that I think really builds in longevity for the long haul. And if it's a good fit for your brand, then I think it's then I think there's a lot of ROI there.
Now, what about brands that don't should they explore Twitter, or should they say, you know what, we're not reaching young people? Like a good example, Wendy's has been around for a long time, but I don't know if you've ever followed Wendy's on Twitter.
Of course.
They are savage. They are unbelievable. I mean, they are fighting with Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
If Chick-fil-A says, on Friday, we have a special for our chicken sandwiches on Saturday, come see us. And then Wendy's repost their post and say, and when they're closed, come get our chicken sandwich on Sunday. Like, they just do all these little things. And they, and what happens is I'm seeing everybody repost Wendy's now, because Wendy's is like just crushing everybody with their wit.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering, does that help them reach a younger demographic now that they are kind of really engaging on the Twitter thing?
100%. And I mean, I would say that the Wendy's strategy goes directly into what I was just saying. Their whole strategy is around they respond to tons of people that are just tweeting at them on a daily basis. It's about being instantaneous, responding really quick, and having a voice and a personality behind what they're doing. And there's a huge value in that, and they're absolutely reaching young people. I'm not a Twitter user. I use more Reddit, but I see more Wendy's tweets on Reddit just because people think they're hilarious. And they're getting... I don't even want to know what kind of extra impressions they're getting off of their media dollars, because it's just insane. And so there's huge opportunity on Twitter, especially if you use it. The trick is, like you can see with Wendy's, they're responding to everybody. They're always on 24/7, holidays, Christmas. It's a lot of work. And so you have to be ready for that. If you want to see Twitter succeed and be a really strong value to you, you have to be willing to have that kind of commitment to it.
How do you think brands create their persona online? Like, how do they be authentic, at the same time have a strong persona, like Wendy's, for instance?
Well, I think Wendy's is a little easier than a lot of brands out there because they have an opportunity to have kind of a catty voice from Wendy's. It's clearly something that they've identified. But even something like locally Nissan, Nissan could not get away with those kind of jokes because they're a more classy brand. And that's something that I would be interested to do some more additional research on to see what kind of classy voices are out there that are really succeeding on Twitter, because a lot of what Wendy's doing, and I think Moon Pie is doing something similar, is that's what's getting their impressions, the funny, the quick-witted, the sassy comments. I'd be curious to see what kind of brands are out there succeeding and doing really well. Maybe not getting as many news articles about the latest funny tweet that they did, but that are really building a Twitter following based around a voice that is less catty.
Now, if you guys wanted to reach out to a brand, which platform would you use?
That's right. I have a funny story actually about reaching out to brands on social networks. So I actually had a problem, a Google Business problem, as I'm sure many people have out there, that I was reaching out to Google Business to fix. And I went to Google and I reached out specifically to them, and they were not online, and I couldn't reach them. I couldn't do anything. It was really, really irritating. All I could do is call a 1-800 number. Didn't have enough time to be on hold with someone. So I actually had better success reaching Google through reaching out through their Facebook page. I'm more inclined to reach out on Facebook personally. Just because I feel like brands are more attuned to their Facebook. I also know that they have better tools for responding on Facebook. So
well, I know they respond on Twitter.
They respond on Twitter.
They respond on Twitter. If I get a bad flight or bad customer service, I'm like,
you're there.
I want to tell a personal story. So we recently leased a new vehicle, and the thing is a brand new platform this year. So they're having a lot of issues, and I won't mention the name of the brand. So we've had it in the dealership probably 5 or 6 times, and they finally said, listen, we're going to cover one month of your lease because we know you've had so much problems. But they made you sign a thing that said you wouldn't post on social media, because social media, especially Twitter, I mean, it can ruin a brand.
Hugely influential.
It's almost like that's the only option some people have to have their voice be heard. Now you got your iPhones, you're taking video, you're posting it. I mean, it's something that I know that they take really serious.
Yeah,
absolutely, and it's something you should.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, what else do you think there's out there that can help us for 2019 as it relates to social media?
Well, to be more deep in terms of what's going on, back in May, the GDPR finally went live.
Okay, stop. GDPR, explain.
So that's the European Union's data protection regulation. That is them trying to lock down on what kind of data is shared and what kind of data is collected and how it's handled. So there's a lot of changes in terms of how websites should be built and data should be managed. And that also impacts Google and Facebook tremendously. So it really affects how ads are run, and it affects how ads are run and how ads are run.
And ladies and gentlemen, it affects how ads are run.
That's right. That's right. And we've already seen it impact Google and Facebook in terms of it's really put up walls in between the two in terms of what can be talked to between itself. It used to be that there was a lot more connection. And of course, Google and Facebook already don't want that. So it's putting up stronger walls and giving us less opportunities to be able to target people more appropriately. Now, there's a lot of opinions to be had about that. And of course, but from a marketer's perspective, we're doing our best to really serve the humans that need the products most.
What platform would you say, hey, in 2019, make sure you're doing this one, because right now this one has maybe the most return? Is there any staples that you're just like, you got to do those?
Yeah, well, Facebook and Instagram are probably the ones I'd sit on. But the trick is that there's no one size fits all for every brand. And I wouldn't necessarily, there are plenty of brands that are not a good fit for Instagram. There are plenty of brands who are not a good fit for Facebook. But Facebook and Instagram are pretty good staples to start with. I would definitely devote my energy there. And then if you have the opportunity, I think YouTube is a big opportunity, but it's pricey to, like I said earlier, long form video content, especially good one that is branded, is not cheap. So you have to be prepared for that kind of level of commitment.
Got it. Anything else?
Of course, there's always a bunch of new technologies coming out that are really fun, but typically those are kind of out in the ether and not really applicable unless you're working with massive, huge Adidas like Nike like brands. You know, VR is only becoming more and more accessible as we get as we move along. For example,
VR, for those that don't know, is
that's virtual reality. Facebook earlier this year released Oculus Go, which is one of the first virtual reality tools that is fully cordless. So you just get to put it on your head and you can walk around wherever you want in the house, which is extraordinarily dangerous with some VR goggles on. But what that does is it gives us the opportunity to learn and grow in that. And as it becomes more accessible and cheaper for the everyman to be able to afford virtual reality, it does increase our opportunities to kind of play in that realm a little bit more.
Yep.
Got it. Well, I mean, you've really impacted a lot. You know, I'm sure people may have questions because it is a lot. And the thing for those that are listening, social media is ever evolving. And so one of the things that we do at Anthem is we just try to research and stay on top of the trends. And so that was the purpose of this episode, is to alert you to the trends and have a conversation about where it's at and where it's going. So any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
I actually host a social media event bi-monthly called Rehash Social Media Mornings. We have coffee and donuts. Oftentimes we have a guest speaker talking about a different dimension of social media. And it's really valuable, just a way to get caught up on what's going on in social media and just kind of take a break. And so you don't have to do the research on your own. You can just let me do it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, just to see different companies, it seems like they take that morning off of work to educate themselves.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's a pretty easy sell to your boss. You know, hey, I'm going to go learn and keep up for a couple of bucks, and I'll come back and I'll be even more empowered to do a better job on social media when I get back.
Get some good nuggets and you donuts.
Good nuggets and some good donuts.
If you have any questions, please email us at hello@itsonpodcast.com. Please follow us on our Instagram at Anthem Republic. We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Yeah, feel free to also ask any questions on social media if you're around. I currently man that, so I'm happy to just respond and help you out with any questions that you have.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you for tuning in. And whenever you decide to make a change, it's on.